Well, hello. My name is Murray Gibson. I'm the Dean of the College of Science here at Northeastern University, and it's my pleasure to welcome you and give you an opportunity to consider why it is you might want to come to Northeastern. You're making a big decision. If you've already been admitted, congratulations. We admit those students that we believe can flourish in our environment here at Northeastern University, which I'll tell you more about. If you haven't yet been admitted, well, you're thinking about coming, then please, we very strongly encourage you to do so, and hopefully I'll give you some information that will help you in making the decision that you're going to have to make as you select a college to attend. It's a very important decision, and it's a difficult one. And I think what I'd like to do is think about the ways that you look at universities, particularly Northeastern, and compare them when considering this important choice in your life. So they're basically divided into four areas that are central. One of them is the faculty. The faculty, outstanding faculty, are the core of every university. Second is the academics, labs, and locations. I'll say much more about all of these. Advising and student support is critical. And the last ingredient I mentioned here is experiential learning. And experiential learning is one of those ingredients you don't find as strongly in other universities. I think you'll find at the very best universities that faculty and laboratories, locations, and advising can be very, very strong. But experiential learning is really something we add to that. It's our, you might say, gimmick here at Northeastern. We fundamentally believe that it's the best way to learn. So what does it mean? It means that you will take some time out during your degree to go and work in an environment outside the learning environment, in a job, in a company, in a research lab, in a hospital, wherever it may be, in a government. It could be in this area, it could be elsewhere in the United States, it could be anywhere around the world. These experiences we call co-op, and these co-ops are 6-month periods that you can fit into your curriculum. We have designed our curriculum in the way that we teach you in order to be able to fit 2 of those into a 4-year degree, or 3 of them if you want to take a longer degree. And you can take as little as 0 and easily take 1 in a 4-year degree. So let me tell you more about co-op. The first thing about co-op is, of course, that you end up working in an environment where you meet real people in real jobs, and you get the opportunity to perform in a real environment outside academia, something like what you will experience once you graduate. And as a result of that, half of our graduates, more than half of our undergraduates, receive job offers from those co-op employers for full-time employment after graduation. Now, a much larger number of people find full-time employment. In fact, I think around 90% of our graduates are either in graduate school or have full-time jobs within 9 months of graduation. But it's the fact that they're probably working in areas that they wanted to work in that really makes a difference to the co-op. You can find a job in an area that you know is something you want to do, and they know you can do it. And that puts you in a very, very strong position. So let's talk about co-op by going through some examples of students' experiences. Emily Batt was a graduate of the physics department who, in fact, was a very multi-talented person. She was selected as a commencement speaker for the university graduation last year. So her first job actually came from a co-op experience. And how did she do all of this? Well, she embraced the value of co-op. Like I say, you don't have to do co-op, but the majority of students who come to the university are excited by the possibilities that experiential education offers them. She took an introduction to co-op class, which is offered to all students in their second year. And there you learn about how to write a resume, look into companies, practice interviews. And the co-op coordinator, these are faculty members who are in every program, whose job is to develop the stable of jobs for you and to help you develop the skills to work there in the real world, find jobs, and so on. So while we have a set of jobs, we have relationships with more than 2,500 employers in which our co-op students are the only ones who can compete for those jobs. At the same time, you have to compete internally for them. That's the model. You have to learn what the real world is like. The employers want to select the students who are motivated and qualified. So all of that's part of the process of learning through co-op. Just about everybody finds a job. The question is, identifying what the job you want and the job that you're qualified for is. You go on interviews, and Emily graduated with a robust resume. She had experiences at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, MIT, Oregon State University. She did quite a bit of research and other things, but she ended up in this company that got her excited about the product developing of innovative products in high tech, and the combination of science and engineering and marketing. And she found out that from that experience of trying other things that she really enjoyed but realized weren't her passion. So that's where she's working now. Other examples: Krista Wager has done drug discovery research at Millennium Pharmaceuticals, chemistry. Michael Orbank went to New Zealand, where he studied water contamination associated with the earthquake in Christchurch. He was an environmental science major. Vincent Couming has been in Japan, where he's worked at an international accelerator facility. This is an interesting example of international co-op. I had the connection. I came, actually, my last job 2 or 3 years ago was running the U.S. largest scientific user facility, which is a large accelerator. So I had connections with people in many, many countries who run comparable facilities, and was able to open up these kind of opportunities. And we continue to grow the number of international co-op experiences constantly around the world. The Al-Maitsi twins come from Kuwait. They came here with a passion to raise the profile of mental health in Kuwait. And it's amazing, in their first or second year here, they accomplished, through publicity, basically pressure on the Kuwaiti government to change. And the government moved mental health, if I remember correctly, from Commerce Department into the Health Department, which I think ultimately will have a major impact on its long-term profile within Kuwait. And because of that drive and incredible experience, they were able to get a co-op at the Massachusetts General Hospital in their Global Health Institute, where they worked together on these kind of things. It's not just about getting the job, it's about getting the best education and the best job. When students come back from co-op, they often then have a much better perspective of why they're learning what they're learning, and things that they want to learn and things they're less interested in learning. They ask many more questions, and for the faculty here, it's an exciting aspect of co-op that really attracts outstanding students who then come back and provide us with a perspective on the real world that keeps us fresh. Matthew Chamberlain studied physics and has done a co-op in East Africa at the Rift Valley there. I think that's near the Victoria Falls. So co-op offers you the ability to find out what you're going to flourish at before it's too late. It's sad that some people graduate from great schools always wanting to do something, getting the job, and then discovering they don't like it. And I can tell you from my experience, if you have a passion for what you do, you're going to do it better than other people. So the thing is to find your passion. Furthermore, it's a whole lot more fun in your life if you're doing something you enjoy over something you don't enjoy. But co-op's more than that. Co-op is about illuminating the ivory tower. In other words, let me give you my own personal experience. I spent 11 years working at Bell Laboratories in New Jersey in the 1980s. That was an outstanding research laboratory, industrial research laboratory. And that laboratory had invented, very highly interdisciplinary by the way, it had invented a lot of very fundamental products, the transistor, the laser, the cellular telephone network, and so on. But it also had won Nobel Prizes in fundamental science, discovering, for example, the origin of the Big Bang, and discovering some very fundamental properties of electrons at very low temperatures. So the coexistence of this was really probably a unique environment. And what made it work is that we had technology that was driven by commerce to make semiconductor devices, for example, that was beyond the dreams of what the best universities had, together with people interested in very fundamental problems. And that mix of the fundamental academic interest with the real world creates a mix which doesn't just lead to new products, but leads to new insight and new intelligence. It's intellectually more stimulating. So you have the opportunity to participate in that through the co-op experience. For example, you might go out, you're interested in the fundamentals of curing cancer. When you work in a pharmaceutical company, you learn things about approaches that some academics are unaware of for revolutionizing the way that we, for example, explore drug development. And by coming to Northeastern, you're going to be surrounded by people who are highly motivated. People come here, they're very academically well qualified. You all, if you've been admitted, certainly fall in that category. But you're also people that we think will flourish in this environment where we're offering you tremendous opportunities to explore beyond the walls of academia. And you'll be surrounded by a cohort like yourself, which I think is very exciting. The students here are really outstanding, incredible. We're rated number 1 for career services by the Princeton Review because of the effectiveness of co-op, the best in the United States. Let me talk about the faculty. I mean, the faculty are the core of every university. Let me talk a little bit about science. And science is not knowledge. Science is the process of learning things you don't already know. It's not textbooks. It's how do you answer a question that no one's answered before. It's a technique, an approach to pushing the frontiers of knowledge. And so people who love science want to do it, and doing it is research. So the really outstanding scientists who love to teach are also doing research, and these are the faculty that we hire. They're at the cutting edge in the disciplines, pushing the boundary in various areas, many areas. At the same time, they enjoy being with bright young people, because the bright young people are the future. They want to get them involved in the passion of where they see the problems that need to be dealt with and how to deal with them. And they also want the ideas from young people. Young people come in, ask questions that sometimes no one had asked before. So it's a university with a research university is a wonderfully fertile environment for the faculty and the students. So our faculty are leaders in their fields, providing unique opportunities to learn in their areas of expertise. Let me give you some examples. Alex Vespignani is a professor of physics. He has a joint appointment in computer science and in health science. He studies the very fundamental statistical properties of networks, network science, and we have several world-leading experts in this area. We've assembled a globally leading team. Network science can approach, the internet is a network. So are the way that your cell function, all the signaling and so forth is another kind of network. We have social networks. In Alex's case, he studies disease propagation. He was able to accurately predict the spread of H1N1 using network science. So the focus here is on sophisticated statistical physics techniques that enable you to study the properties of something that's too complex to study node by node. Very interesting, cutting edge. You might call it an example of big data science. Rebecca Shansky is a professor in behavioral neuroscience, psychology. She's interested in understanding how aggression manifests in the brain from a neurological point of view, and in particular she's interested in gender effects on aggression. These faculty are here to help you succeed. Many ways they do this. They can mentor your research. You'll do faculty research in faculty laboratories. They can share their passion with you, and I think almost all faculty, there's nothing more fun than talking to a young person who's interested in what you're doing. They can give you incredible advice through office hours, advice on solving problems in your courses, but also advice on your career development, mentoring, and guidance. Jeff Trussell is a leader in the area of urban coastal environments. He's an ecologist who studies species in intercoastal regions and particularly interested in the effects of climate change and other changes that are going on globally. He leads our marine environmental science department and the Marine Science Center, and we have invested recently a lot of resources in building this up to hire new faculty, create new infrastructure, to have a world-leading effort in the, you might say, cities by the sea, the issues that affect cities by the sea, brought to a head recently, for example, by the terrible devastation in New York with Hurricane Sandy. Things are changing. We want to understand and control them better. Latika Menon is one of our faculty in physics who is studying nanophysics and particularly interested in understanding how to make more efficient, cheaper solar cells and other ways to capture energy. Renewable energy exists, but we don't yet have the technology to capture it enough to solve our energy problems. The sun provides more energy than we would need if we could capture it all. Erin Cram is a biologist who's studying transparent worms, nematodes, which are an excellent system which understand very fundamental biological questions about cell differentiation, cell signaling. And this can be then attacked. She's now studying the relevance of this to understanding cancer in much more complex beings. Mike Pilastri is a chemist, a medicinal chemist. He's had experience working in industry, and he's brought the technology from industry in repurposing of drugs to bear on the problem of neglected diseases, the scourge of the third world. We have an institute now for neglected disease. We're hiring more faculty, not just in science, but also in policy and law, to try to make a real impact on finding drugs for these and delivering drugs for diseases which themselves do not have patients with enough resources to support the massive engine of drug development the way that it normally works. This word repurposing of drugs is one example of how you can efficiently take old knowledge and use it to solve these terrible problems. Very exciting and important. Derek Izakowicz is in psychology in affective science, the science of emotion. He studies how older people, how their emotions differ and affect their decision making, how age affects that. And for example, one of the things that he's learned from this eye tracking gadget you can see on his glasses is he can, in his experiments, with scientific experiments on people, giving them particular stimuli, pictures and so on, he can tell what they look at. And the interesting observation is older people, it's known that older people are happier than younger people. And one of the things he sees is that they don't look at stuff that will make them unhappy. So younger people tend to look at everything and then they're unhappy. That's part of growing. But older people become selective in avoiding things that I guess they know are not going to make them happy. Makes sense, but an important thing to understand. Alina Marianne is a mathematician. She works at this interface between physics and mathematics, which is called string theory. So string theory purports to explain the origin of the universe. Still something that's been very difficult to test, but a fascinating, complex theory of how things happen. At the same time, it's probing new areas in mathematics, and Alina is a mathematician who is exploring how algebra and geometry are connected through some of the ideas that have emerged from string theory. We also have scientists working at the collider in Geneva, Switzerland, where the Higgs boson was discovered and where they're probing some of the experimental aspects of those kind of things. And we're growing. Northeastern is hiring new faculty. This is one of the tremendous things going on here. We've got a plan to increase the faculty size over a 4 or 5 year period that we're right in the middle of. It's one of the things that attracted me to come here, because we're able to really strategically hire faculty in research areas that we see as the cutting edge of the future. And last year, you can see pictures here of the dozen or so faculty that we hired in the College of Science. We have about 175 faculty members in the college, serving the fields of study. So let me now talk about academics and labs and locations. First, I want to mention the majors, and you can see them listed here. I want to also point out that we have many combined majors and minors that are available. In fact, you can combine many majors together and get a degree in the same period of time, a so-called combined major degree, in which you have enough qualification in 2 fields. And that's something that we encourage. Furthermore, you have the ability even to develop your own major with the approval of faculty. This is important to us and to you, that the world is always changing and new ways of looking at problems emerge. And so one of the ways that we want to stay at the cutting edge is to allow our undergraduates to direct for us where the next area might be. So for example, behavioral neuroscience is now a very large and strong program, but it began with just a few students a number of years ago because of the interest of the students and the faculty merging and the evolution of that area of behavioral neuroscience in the world outside. So the world of science is always changing. We have very many labs and research centers. The Marine Science Center, I mentioned, the Urban Coastal Sustainability Initiative. Here you can see we have the center on the Boston Harbor, one of the few centers of marine science which is located at the entrance to a city on a harbor, on an ocean, which is one of the reasons we selected the Coastal Urban Sustainability Initiative as a sensible thing for us to do. Great places like Woods Hole are located in pristine environments and work on deep sea oceanography, which is also very important. But the issues facing cities by the sea are, of course, a particularly important area, and we're focusing on that. We have many activities in drug discovery. Alex Makarianis runs a center for drug discovery jointly between the pharmaceutical science and the chemistry departments. This is a cutting-edge research center studying endocannabinoids, which we apply to a number of different diseases. PRISM is a National Science Foundation program which is designed to bring more people into science and engineering, the so-called STEM professions, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And many undergraduates participate in PRISM in those activities. NUCRET is a Northeastern University Center for Renewable Energy Technology. Here you can see Professor Sanjeev Mukherjee facing us, who is an expert in the electrochemistry of fuel cells and batteries, because basically batteries are going to be the key for storing renewable energy and carrying it, for example, onto a car, or storing it when the wind is not blowing and the sun is not shining. And battery technology is in need of major scientific and engineering innovations, which are going on now. The Effective Science Institute, I mentioned Derek Zakowitz's work. We have several other faculty members have created a national center in this area of affect or emotion. The Action Lab is another example. Dagmar Sternat is studying motion and motor function and how the brain controls that. We have a center in nanomedicine, which is basically nanomedicine is about trying to deliver drugs using nanotechnology, potent drugs like chemotherapy agents, directly to the targeted region by using for example, nanovesicles, which could contain the drug and then release the drug at the appropriate place, allowing you to avoid some of the problems with the massive damage created by these drugs, which otherwise the tolerance for them is too low to damage the tumor. By focusing on tumor, you can give the tumor a very much larger dose and effectively destroy it. So that's just some of the examples of the research labs. This QR code can take you to our webpage. You can find many, many examples of our centers, institutes, and faculty research, which will, I think, hopefully you'll find interesting. Boston, of course, is a fantastic place for science and intellectual activity. We have probably the largest cluster of great universities in the world, the largest cluster of hospitals and research. And in fact, in the general area of life science, Boston, by most measures, is rated the #1 center in the world, including pharmaceutical companies and so forth. It's a fascinating and rich area to be in. It allows us to partner with other institutions, for example, with the Harvard Medical Schools in our research and other activities. Think about joining the club. Being a student, of course, is not all about studying books and going to classes and so on. It's also about interacting with other people in areas that are outside your academic area. So we have many, many clubs in the College of Science in all of the major disciplines, but also you can join clubs of so many dimensions and interact with students around the university, and that's an important thing to do as a student. For example, just to give you one example of one of our clubs in the College of Science, this is the Chemistry Society. It's an outpost of the American Chemical Society. They won a standing award in green chemistry. So here you can see the chair of the department, Graham Jones, and the president of the American Chemical Society. Of course, the work was done by the students. You can see flanking them on the right and left in the club. Very nice honor. And the best way to really share interests with people from different fields is by living together in dorms and residences. So we have these living learning communities where you can choose to live in communities which are focused on areas that you might share an interest with people, and that can be a very rewarding experience. Education goes beyond the classroom. We have, for example, our 3Cs program takes students to three different oceans where they study for several months in marine biology, do research in different coral environments to understand the fundamentals of coral reefs and also major climate-associated changes that are going on and how we can mitigate them. And service learning, getting out into the world and serving, is an important part of everyone's responsibility, and the clubs here are very involved in that. The biochemistry students go, for example, to the Boys and Girls Club of Roxbury. It's a great way to, I think it's just like being a professor. They say that teaching is the best way to learn. The same is true here. When you go out and serve others, it's the best way you can learn about what you're doing. So the next category, and very important, is a network of advising and student support. We are a private university. We care about our undergraduate students' success. We have a high retention rate, and the way we work is we work very hard with individuals to help them make the right choices. If you're not doing something which is successful, then we want to help you find something that is successful for you. There are so many choices available to you, and we're there to advise you on those choices. In many ways we do this. It gives you the right tools. Faculty, of course, are the primary advisors. We do want you to break out of your comfort zone. Taking risks is important. That's part of the joy of being in a university, is you can take risks. The risks, try things that you haven't tried before, take courses that are out of your comfort zone. And this is part of the process of maturing, is making those choices, and also we help you with recovering from mistakes. Mistakes are part of life. In fact, if you never make mistakes, you're probably not taking enough risks. But we want it to be safe. So most of the time, I think we want to encourage students to take more risks than they're taking, because I think that's something that in life is an important way in which you can find real success. But we're there to protect you from that and help you with those choices. Advisors, we have professional academic advisors who will work with you on details of questions about choices in courses, all the other issues about making university choices. We have tutoring and peer support of fellow students with more senior students who can advise you on solving problems in courses that they've recently taken that can help you. They can help understand where you may be having difficulties. We have co-op advisors who spend time with you understanding where your co-op experience and where your career can be most fruitful. And as I said, the faculty themselves, through talking with them outside class, during class, or working in the research labs, are a tremendous source of mentoring and advice to our students. So, what I've tried to do here, and this is not in live, normally I prefer to do this in front of people live and answer your questions in real time, but this is what we're doing. We have now I've done this and presented it for you in a fashion that I hope answers a lot of your questions, and if you have further questions, you can email, Twitter, or Facebook them to me or to others here at the university in the College of Science. I just want to remind you the things I talked about in terms of making this important choice. Think about experiential education. That's our number one discriminator, you might say, at Northeastern. We have outstanding labs and location here, and academic rigor, outstanding faculty. We offer global experiences. We strongly encourage that. Boston is a fantastic place to be and learn, both about your subject and about so many other things. We're deeply involved in community engagement in Boston, and we provide a network of very strong advising and support. So at this point, I wish you the very best as you make the choice, and please follow up in any way you like remotely with questions. I'll be happy to try and answer them. Thank you very much.